This episode is brought to you by my favorite podcasting software, Riverside, and I've got a 20% off deal so you can try it for yourself. Whether you're on episode 1 of your podcast or you have over 200 episodes like me, let me just say the right interview recording software makes all the difference. Riverside makes it simple to record and edit podcasts, quickly fine-tune post-production, and make great poll clips for easy reuse. We all know that repurposing content is the name of the game in 2023, and clip markers let me save things in real time to easily grab parts of the episode and create short-form videos for reels or other teaser content for the episode post-production. So there's no more fumbling with a pen and paper mid-interview to write yourself a post-it note that reminds you that your guest said something cool during minute 24 of the episode. On top of that, it's so easy for guests to use too. I've been a guest on more than 50 podcasts at this point, so I've seen it all. And both as a podcast guest and a podcast host, Riverside is my favorite. The quality and ease of use is so good, I've even been able to repurpose my podcast episodes as videos and finally get on YouTube this year. So to try it for yourself and get 20% off, head to elizabethmccravey.com/Riverside and use the code Elizabeth at checkout. Make sure to share your first clip with me and tell me what you think. Again, that's elizabethmccravey.com/Riverside, and that link is in the show notes. Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. Happy almost Mother's Day to you. And even if you're listening to this a bit later, happy just like day of being a mom to you, because I'm guessing that if you press play on this episode, you're either a mom or maybe a mom to be or hoping to be a mom someday. So I've never done a Mother's Day episode on this podcast, but this felt like the perfect year to start because I've had this note on my phone for quite a while with this podcast idea that are just basically some random things that I would want to encourage other moms with, things that have encouraged me and just some random thoughts. So now I know a lot of you guys listening are farther along your motherhood journey than me. Maybe you have older kids, maybe you have a lot of multiple kids, or you might just have a totally different perspective than me, and that is totally fine. So I am just speaking here from the heart with my perspective of being the mom to a toddler. So in the little years with just one right now, and then also being a business owner and a woman with other passions besides just motherhood. So these are just a few random words of encouragement from my home to yours, and I pray these meet you where you're at today in your motherhood journey. And again, happy Mother's Day. So let's get to it. All right, my first just thing of encouragement that I want to talk about, I guess that's what I could call this episode. I think I'm planning to call it like things I want to tell the mamas, but I could also just call it different random encouragements that have encouraged me. So the first one, the decision between your work and family is not an all or nothing one and done thing. In theory, right? You might hear me, you're like, yeah, Elizabeth, I know we all know this, right? We know it's not all or nothing. We know it's not permanent. We know we can have both. We can be moms and we can be business owners, or we can be moms and also have a career and also have other interests, etc. But maybe right now for you, you've paused on your business to be a stay-at-home parent. Or maybe you've cut back your work hours drastically to be a partially stay-at-home parent. Hello, that's me raising my hand right now. Or maybe you're like, I want to start a business, and you have all these ideas and this drive, but you have no time for it because of your season with your kids. Or maybe you had a career prior to having children and now you're a stay-at-home mom, but sometimes you crave like being back in the workforce. So the encouragement for you is that what you do today is not forever, and seasons of life change so drastically and also quicker than we often might think. So when your kids are in school or college and beyond, your work life might look completely different than it is right now, when maybe you're like hustling during nap times or getting a little work in while your mom is in town visiting. So things change and seasons change, and whatever your work and parent life is like right now, it's not permanent. I have experienced this so intensely where I feel like even for us over here, I'll get into like a little bit of a groove with like my work schedule and call-in schedule, and then it changes, right? I mean, gosh, even just down to like kids' sleep schedules are changing constantly. So whatever your work and parent life is right now, it's not permanent. And the schedule you have will constantly change as your kids grow, as your own work changes, as your spouse's work change, whatever it is. Now, I want to do something though, y'all. I've never done this. Maybe I have, like maybe once or twice. I don't typically do this on podcast episodes though, but I'm going to play you some audio, just a minute from another podcast, and I'm going to link to it in the show notes so you can go listen to the whole episode. I highly recommend listening to it. So the show this is from is called Wisdom from the Top, hosted by Guy Raz. He's also the host of How I Built This, if you've heard of that podcast. I love all of his stuff. Specifically, I've been really into Wisdom from the Top lately. I've listened to almost every episode now. And this clip I'm going to play you is just around a minute long and is from an interview he did with Cheryl Batchelder, who is the CEO of Popeyes, and she's played a major role in a lot of other companies as well over her career, like KFC and Nabisco. And she's had a really interesting career. So, and that's what Wisdom from the Top is all about. It's interviewing not necessarily founders, but people who are like CEOs of major companies. So she's had a really cool career, which is what that interview is focused on. But she's also a mom and working in corporate. And she took a break at a time when her career was doing really well to go back and stay home. So at the time, her kids were 2 and 7. She has 2 kids, and her husband had aging parents that they were caring for. So she had all that going on at home. And she was talking about this on this interview, this decision to basically quit her career completely at an unexpected time when things were going really well. So here's the episode and just a quick 1-minute clip of her talking about that decision.
When you left Nabisco in 92, did you think that it was going to be a pause and you would go back to work, or were you not sure?
I never thought those decisions were either or. I thought they were at a point in time. And I really encourage young families to think about it this way. Life and work is one whole equation. It is difficult to keep it all sorted out and working well. And so to not be so linear in your thinking that I always must work, or I always must stay home, or there's one answer for the next 10 years. I just always thought that was overblown thinking. We had more of a 2 or 3 year view of our life and family. Yeah. That's about the time frame you can even picture, right? Because you don't know what the next stage looks like, really.
You certainly don't, no.
And so what do our kids need now? What are our careers? Where are they at? What are the implications? But I took 2 major breaks in my 40-year career, and they did not topple over my career.
No, in fact, to the contrary.
I would suggest that during those breaks, there was some time of reflection, looking back and looking forward, a chance to catch your breath, a chance to make sure you feel right about your family decisions and that everyone in your family is prospering, not just 1 or 2 of you. I think those are healthy. I think they're healthy things. I think it helps you live a life with fewer regrets if you give yourself those breathing opportunities.
Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. So there you go. That was Cheryl Batchelder. And I just love what she said there. And right, she says she took 2 major breaks in her 40-year career. And if anything, it actually helped her in her career versus holding her back and messing things up and ruining things. So I just want to encourage you, if you're in a season right now where maybe you're feeling like I must always work or I must always stay home, or you're staying home and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I've completely given up my career forever. You just don't know what the next stage looks like. And yeah, I just love that interview. And I love that one part I wanted to share with you. So again, linking to that whole thing in the show notes if you want to listen to the whole interview. So don't get yourself into a feeling of despair because work looks different right now for you. And work does not have to be a priority in every season of our life. Other types of work, like taking care of children, can also be a priority. And another kind of random encouragement for you that goes along with this first encouragement, that's just, I feel like I'm just like over here being like, Guy Raz, podcast obsessed. But ironically, I also heard this on one of his other podcasts, How I Built This. And I found this also worth sharing with you. So I'm not sharing a clip, but just wanted to talk to you about this. So Ellen Latham, who is the creator and founder of Orange Theory Fitness. Okay. That she was on his podcast. Super great episode as well. If you love Orange Theory, I personally love Orange Theory workouts. So it's really cool hearing how that business came about. But this was crazy to me. She did not start her business until she was 40 years old. So after her child was already completely out of the house, in college actually, was when she first started her business. So it's just like, it doesn't have to be right now. And on that same episode, Guy Raz also talks about how in our brains, we often sometimes think of founders as like, oh yeah, they're all in their 20s and 30s, or even more specifically in their 20s or younger. And they're like the college dropout who's just so super smart. And there was a study done by Harvard Business Review in 2018, and they found that the average age of a successful startup founder in the US is actually 45 years old. So not in your 20s, but the average age is 45. So not only is it not too late to like start your business or make a big change in your career when you're older and when your kids are out of the house, but it also is just randomly encouraging to think about how like as our businesses evolve, they may be completely different over time. You may be doing something completely different by the time you're in your 40s. Maybe you started another business by then, or maybe you're starting your business for the first time and it's going to be super successful then as well. So anyway, that is my first thing, my random tidbit of encouragement. The decision between your work and family is not an all or nothing, one and done thing. The second little encouragement for you guys, and this is something I've talked about on the podcast before in a sense, but maybe in a different way that I'm about to talk about right now. But just the encouragement, and this really goes along with the first thing as well. So it's almost like this is all just one long running thing, but be in your season. Just be in your season, like whatever that means for you right now. This is something, again, I'm giving you guys encouragement that is like ways I'm encouraging myself right now as well. This is something I'm constantly reminding myself of. So try to, as much as possible, joyfully show up where you are right now, knowing that there is beauty in every season, and not comparing yourself with other women in other seasons, other moms in other seasons, because it's just not the same. And even down to like someone else, even who has kids the same age as yours, they're still in a completely different season because their family, their home life, their business, their work, it's all different. So just be in your own shoes and show up joyfully there, and don't wish away where you are now, believing that something in the future is going to be better or something in the past was better. And with that in mind, this is something I have talked about in the podcast before. You don't always have to be growing your business, and you also can pause and scale back on the business and dial into motherhood more. If that's where you're at right now and that's what your heart wants or that's what your family needs from you, you're allowed to do that. And that's kind of currently where I'm at right now. I am still trying to grow my business, obviously, because we're always trying to grow, right? But I'm also trying to enjoy like the fruits of my labor of like the past 7 years I put into my business. And instead of feeling like I gotta like get at it 5 days a week, I'm saying, okay, what would it look like if I was working more like 3 days a week? And then being home with my son while he's in these little precious years that don't last forever on the other days. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I know if I were to say, I'm going to do full-time childcare 5 days a week and just work, 40 plus hours a week, I would probably make a lot more money and my business would grow a lot faster. But that's not really what I want. So it's just deciding what you want, right? And sometimes it does feel easier when I think about working in my business is a lot easier than taking care of a toddler. I know a lot of you guys can relate to that. They're both really fulfilling, but I would say my business is easier. Anyway, that's all a little side tangent, just talking real with you guys. But I have a whole episode on this podcast about being in your season and how you don't always have to be growing your business. So that's episode 187. It's a really great complement to this one if you want to go back and listen to that one. But I talk in that episode about how it's okay to not always be growing your business. And we're often told if you're not growing, you're dying. You got to hustle, hustle, hustle. You make it to 5 figures a month. Now you got to get to 6 figures and then 7 figures. And guess what? You can also get to 8 figures. Like that's the message we're told. So I would encourage you to plan for seasons, to just stay put in your business and enjoy the work you've already put in and focus on other things besides just building your business. Again, that's where I'm at right now. And that doesn't mean I'm not doing new things in my business. I mean, I'm making new templates, working on new course stuff. I'm launching things. I'm doing new podcast content. I'm doing new collaborations. Like I'm doing a lot of things, but I'm like doing it in the hours I have available and not at the expense of my family. So just knowing we did not build our businesses so that we could just stress out over hitting the next milestone just because someone online told us we need to hit that. Instead, you probably built your business so that you can enjoy what you've built and be able to take breaks. Business and life are seasonal, and our current circumstances is not always what's going to be. In that episode 187 about how you don't always have to be growing your business, I shared a quote by Nancy Ray from her podcast, the Work and Play podcast. So she says this on one of her episodes, and I want to read it to you. She says, "The key to abundant living is following God's lead for your life in the season you're in and knowing the season will change. When we can joyfully press into the season we're in, then joyfully step into the next assignment God has for us, we find abundance. We are right where we are supposed to be." Maybe rewind and listen to me say that again, because seriously, I think that's so impactful. And I really do believe that like the key to abundant living is like following the way God is guiding us, knowing the seasons are going to change and being like, all right, here's where my feet are. Here's what God has for me right now. Here's what I desire. Here's how that goes into like what God's calling me to. And I'm going to press into that and find abundance there. So, okay, that's my second thing for you guys. Be in the season you're in. Okay, third thing. God is using the quiet, mundane moments of your motherhood and business journey that no one else sees for your good all the time behind the scenes. He's using them to grow you as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner or employee, as a friend, as a daughter, and using them in ways you can't even see right now, but maybe you will down the line. I literally have this in my, again, speaking from experience, speaking from things I'm encouraging myself with, but I feel this when I think about some of the really, really hard moments in the newborn phase with Colin and how that has impacted me now, even just like, a year and a half-ish later. It all impacts us and changes who we are, and it can be changed for the good. So motherhood has so many moments that are Instagram worthy and they're fun to post about, right? Like there's cute videos and photos maybe every day that you could like send to your friends and family or post on Instagram, and everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, your family's so cute. Oh, that's so adorable. Oh, that's so fun. Everything's so picture perfect, happy. But there are so many moments, probably more than that, more than the Instagram worthy ones within your individual family that are simply mundane. And sometimes in addition to being mundane, they're also difficult, frustrating, challenging, and times when the minutes pass like hours through it and you're just like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. So next time you're feeling like whatever you're doing is pointless, or you're just wishing it can be over because it's just so hard, know that God uses it all and uses it for His good and glory in your life and in the world. And we can show up to the mundane moments and serve God through it and find joy in it. And when I get in that mindset personally, when I'm doing the mundane stuff, and to give examples of what I mean by the mundane and difficult, like just sitting around folding laundry, days when I feel like I really wanted to shower but did not get to it because Colin woke up at the crack of dawn, times when you're holding for nap time because that's the only way they'll sleep, random things like that, or just like temper tantrums that you're struggling through. You know, it's different for everyone, but we can show up to those mundane moments and serve God through it, serve our children through it, and find joy in it. So I'm just all about reading stuff to you guys today, apparently playing other people's content. Because again, I'm basically sharing with you what has been encouraging me, but I want to read to you right now from the book, Risen Motherhood. It's by Emily Jensen and Laura Wiffler. I've mentioned this book on the podcast before on Instagram, various places. It is an awesome book. If you're looking for a Mother's Day gift for yourself or a gift to like go tell someone to buy for you, it's on Amazon, so it can probably be shipped to you really quick. But it's an amazing, amazing book that you can actually kind of read a bit like a devotional, or maybe like each chapter, maybe you do like one chapter in a 2-day period or something like that to get through the book. That's kind of how I read it. But each chapter is on like a different motherhood type of theme. But anyway, I got to find it in my book. They have a whole chapter that's called The Gospel in Our Mundane Moments. So talking about the mundane moments of motherhood and how we can apply the gospel story and what Jesus has to say about like us and our purpose to the mundane moment. So I want to read you, apart from this chapter, a bit out of context. I wish I could just sit here and read you the whole chapter because it would all make a lot more sense, but that would probably be like 15 minutes. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to read you a little part of it. But again, to get the full picture, I highly recommend reading this book. And this chapter in particular starts on page 77 in the book. When I roll laundry bundles, bring in another week's worth of groceries, put the baby's toys in the living room basket, and wipe the table for the umpteenth time, I can remember that I image God as I bring order to my little corner of God's creation. I don't always know how the image communicates the character of God to those around me, but I trust that it does. I trust there is no mundane moment too small for God's glory to shine through it. The part of us that wants to accomplish something extraordinary and be like God still exists. The part of our heart that longs for more than laundry piles, sitting in the car at school pickup line, and dealing with the same issues with the same old coworkers still burns. I often want to find answers to those longings by manipulating my life to be fresher and more exciting, less normal and run-of-the-mill. I swipe through social media feeds on my phone hoping to see something interesting to add to my own life. I try to make washing the dishes more interesting by listening to podcasts while I scrub. Being thoughtful with my time is a good thing, but my deepest longing for glory and purpose is found in Christ. Because we're united to Him, our identity is extraordinary and our calling is magnificent. Remember, we're part of an epic story headed for a glorious ending. We're really not that special, but Christ in us is spectacular. He is our hope for glory. We can do all kinds of extraordinary things with a new nature bought and provided for by Him through the Holy Spirit. It might be mundane to fold laundry, but it's extraordinary to do it patiently and with a joy and heart of love. It might be mundane to sit on the couch and read another book to a whiny 4-year-old, but it's extraordinary to show kindness and mercy to an undeserving sinner. It might be mundane to fill the fridge with groceries, but it's extraordinary to praise God for His provision. Our everyday moments might be ordinary, but when we accomplish them while displaying the fruits of the Spirit, they reflect our extraordinary Savior. So the laundry piles will keep coming and coming and coming, but we can pursue excellence in our hidden everyday moments, knowing that to live is Christ. Even folding laundry is from Him and through Him and to Him, and that isn't mundane at all. I love that last part in particular, and that is pulling from scripture, specifically from Romans 11:36 is what they're referencing there when they say from Him and through Him and to Him. And that's not mundane at all. That's so right. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my little attempt at becoming an audiobook reader there. But yeah, that book is so encouraging, and I hope that encourages you as you think about the quiet, mundane, difficult moments in motherhood and even in our businesses as well. So that's it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that something in my own experience and what I'm learning and what I'm being encouraged by can encourage you as well, no matter where you are in your motherhood journey. And I know in motherhood, we give so much of ourselves. You give so much of yourself. And I hope that, again, whenever you're listening to this, whether it's actually around Mother's Day when this airs or just another time in your life, I hope that like right now, as you listen to this episode, after you listen to this episode, that you can plan some time on your calendar to replenish and take care of yourself this Mother's Day or whatever day it is. We've got to take care of ourselves and do things that fill us up too as moms. And I know that's been so important for me. So know that you're an amazing mom. You're an incredible woman, and your kids are so blessed to have you in their lives, and have grace on yourself. We're all just figuring it out as we go. And I just want to say to you that you are doing amazing, and you're doing amazing at balancing it all, amazing at doing all the different things, all the different hats you're wearing in your life. And yeah, be encouraged and go love on your kids and your family. I'm actually, as I sign off right now, I can hear Colin downstairs. I'm recording this not during nap time, but on a day where it's just me and Colin all day. But Adam had his work sessions end early. And so he was like, I'm going to come home for an hour. And I was like, all right, I'm going to finish this outline. I'm going to record this episode and get it to my team to like get it out on the podcast. So that's how this came about. But I'm about to go downstairs and go play with them. And yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for being a podcast listener, and happy Mother's Day to you. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast and all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to encourage you to check out my website where you'll find tons of resources to help you grow a profitable and sustainable business. Over on ElizabethMcCravey.com, you'll find free workbooks to help you figure out things like the best headline for your sales page. There's a freebie with my favorite journal prompts to start your day with, a guide on website essentials for all you coaches, and so much more. And you'll find my top business tools. Yes, I literally list out all the major ones for you on my website, and there are tons of special discounts and offers for you guys to snag as you try these products and services. You'll also find the main ways to work with me. First, through my Show It website template shop that helps you DIY your way to a strategic website for your business. These website templates are easy to use, they're gorgeously designed, and they have all the strategy I'm teaching on this podcast just woven into them, and I have a feeling you'll really love them. You'll also find my course and coaching program for designers, Booked Out Designer. In this program, I teach you everything I did to build an in-demand design business so that you can create a thriving business for yourself as a brand or website designer. So if all of that interests you, go to ElizabethMcCravey.com. To access those tools and free downloads, head to the tools page at ElizabethMcCravey.com/tools. And to see the different ways to work with me, simply click over to the Ways to Work Together page. I hope you have so much fun exploring everything over there. And don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening so that you never miss an episode. And leaving a rating and review for the show, sharing it with a friend, sharing it on social media are all great ways for you to support this podcast. Thanks so much, and I'll see you again next week.